Good morning, early game crew. Time to start another week, which means we are 1 week closer to the college football season. SEC Media Days are over, but it came out about midday on Friday what the results of some of the voting was when it comes to preseason predictions and all SEC. I'm Elijah Campbell. He's Preston Thorne. She's Jen Jensen. And if you haven't heard, we are going to reveal to you where South Carolina was voted in terms of predicted order of finish in the Southeastern Conference down in Tampa this past week. I told you what my ballot was, and now I'll reveal the results. We should go from 16 to 1, right?
Yes, you have to.
Okay. I like doing that the most.
Yes.
Now, in 16th, by a large margin, it is Arkansas. Apparently, my Ryan Silverfield skepticism is shared amongst my peers over in the SEC media.
As soon as he said, I know the notorious B.I.G.
I don't even know what aura is.
That was, you saw him falling down the polls.
Everybody immediately submitted 16, Arkansas. Yeah, everybody in the building simultaneously slotting Arkansas last. Mississippi State at 15. Kentucky at 14.
Wait. Mississippi State at 15th, which again makes this the biggest game of Shane Beamer's life. Because let me phrase this in a positive way. You must beat a 15th ranked SEC team in the third week of the season.
At home. Especially when your first two games are
Kent State and
tune-ups.
Towson. Yes. 2 scrimmages.
Yes, you get 2 glorified televised scrimmages before you get Mississippi State. You have to win that game. And then, of course, it also helps that you have Arkansas at 16. So the rest of the media agrees that Mississippi State, Arkansas, in the Weenie Hut Juniors Club, right? They don't have the stamps on the badges to be able to get into even Motel Mid. They're outside of Motel Mid. Number 14. I also have this team in Motel Mid. Kentucky. 13, Vanderbilt. 12, Auburn. And just slightly above Auburn at number 11, only 20 points higher than Auburn, South Carolina. And then to round out the rest of it, Missouri at 10, Florida at 9, Tennessee at 8, Oklahoma at 7, Alabama at 6, LSU at 5, Texas A&M at 4, Ole Miss at 3, Texas at 2, Georgia at number 1, predicted to win the SEC for the third time in a row, something that has only been done by Nick Saban's Alabama teams and Steve Spurrier's Florida teams in the early 90s. So, Preston Thorne, you hear that South Carolina is picked 11. Now we can do the real sports talk radio thingy, right? Overrated, underrated, or properly rated.
I could submit an argument for each one of these. Because I was looking at this and I was like, I think I could frame an argument for each one of these. But I think I'm going to go with properly rated.
All right.
Properly rated based on all information that we have. The rest of these folks do not wear the garnet glasses. I'm not saying, well, this is where I would rate them. I'm saying based on all available information. Yeah, I think you're properly rated. It's very difficult to overly rate a 4-8 squad.
Hard to.
Also, in today's world of the transfer portal, maybe there is less transference from one year to the next. Maybe every year is its own thing. And so when you bring a squad that went 4-8 last year and you have the coach of the squad that went 4-8 last year, it's about right where you would put them. I think 4-8 sounds, I think 11th sounds right. My only beef, if I was Shane and company, would be why is Florida there?
Yeah, what have they done? What have they done to prove?
That's my only beef. What is he doing up there? Everybody else, I would be like, whatever. But that guy, how'd he get in the club? And because when you're 11th, you're outside looking in. Mm-hmm. You like you. I don't know if this is maybe a past life of mine, but you can understand this as a bouncer. I'm looking at the line. I'm looking at the clicker. I don't know if they're going to let this many people in.
We're getting close to it.
Tight.
We're getting close to it.
I see him clicking. I see the capacity going up. I'm like, am I going to get in? He put that red velvet. He put that line down right before you. Boop.
All right, hold, everybody stay back.
Yeah, Shane Johnson just gonna walk in the top 10 club. You stay back here.
Or even a straight up denial. You're like, all the homies are inside. It's like, hey, we can't let you in. Why? Boss man said, can't let you in. It's my shoes.
John Summerall's in there partying.
Summerall's already at the bar.
He already went to the bar.
Yeah, he's having a good time. He's getting numbers in there, and you're sitting here like, what else do I got to do?
Yeah, I don't know. I would say properly rated. What say you?
By virtue of my poll, I would say underrated because I had him at 9. What's the big difference between 9 and 11? I don't know, other than just 2 spots, right?
I would say 9's in the club.
But 9's in the club. You're ITC.
It's a top 10.
Yeah,
it is a top 10.
It's not a top 11.
Yeah, and no one calls it their top 11 list,
See?
right?
So that to me, that's a big difference.
Yeah, I make top 10 lists, not top 11.
It's only the top 11 if you're number 11.
Oh, for sure.
The top 11 teams.
Puts on like the score ticker at the bottom of our YouTube stream. Gamecocks voted to finish top 11 in the SEC. Would not that's getting by nobody, right? That is not fooling anybody there, you know, no matter how you frame that. But I have been nice. So technically, I would say they are underrated. And I do think South Carolina will be better than the folks think, or at least you should be. You better be, right? I think that's kind of the main thing here is that you better be better than the 11th best team in the SEC when your quarterback returns, who we know that what he can do, right? Is he coming off the best season of his career? No. So trajectory wouldn't tell you that he's going to have an all-SEC season. I believe he will because of offense and his skill set, like new offensive coordinator, plus his skill set. I think the offensive line will just be better by virtue of having a lot more experience. How much better it is, I don't know, and I don't know if anybody can tell. Right now, I don't even know if the coaches know how much better they're going to be. It is impossible just to look in practice and be able to determine already if you're going to be much better on the offensive line than last year. I think this is a byproduct of people still looking at them as 4-8.
It's very difficult to shake that.
And it's offensive line and running back room, too, because you don't know what they have in the running back room. I think people at SEC Media Days can rightfully guess that they don't know if South Carolina is going to be able to run the ball this year outside of Lenoris, right? I think the passing game is going to be a lot better. I think South Carolina's defense probably gives them the cachet to not be where Kentucky is or Mississippi State, right? But I still think they are a little underrated, a smidge underrated, because I also am maybe more of a believer in that South Carolina defense. I think it's going to be better than a lot of people think because Vicari Swain wasn't selected even as first-team all-SEC return man. I think there is a lot of forgetting so guys like Vicari Swain are on this team. Now you'll have to make a point to prove it as a cornerback too.
To be very fair, Vicari Swain was awesome game 1 and 2.
Yes.
And that was a long time ago from the rest of the season.
And I don't think a lot of your SEC media, when they're doing this, are looking at average punt yard return, which was still his was really good.
Right.
It was really good. But what sticks out is the touchdowns.
Right. And those just happened earlier in the season. And then once you compound the 4-8 with that. I think the really interesting thing is where I would really take issue with the list is that aside from Vanderbilt, if I'm looking at this correct, Shane is the lowest rated returning SEC coach.
Yeah.
So Arkansas, Jeff Lebby, I guess. That's year 2, right? So I don't know if that year 2 or 3.
3. He's going into year 3.
All right, I guess. I would still not like to be in this room.
I don't know. I would not want to be in
because
this club.
even I would say Shane's argument. So if South Carolina's 11th, Auburn has a new coach, Vanderbilt's Clark Lee, he's returning, but he's in a good space. They're coming off 10 wins.
Oh, he's got some cachet to him now.
He has some cachet to him. Kentucky's new, Mississippi State, Arkansas. I would not want to be in the same. Again, there goes Mississippi State again. Battle for the worst returning coach. September 19th. It's on the way.
You can't lose it.
You cannot lose to that guy across because he's the only other dude in your category. So if I'm Shane, I don't like the room that y'all think that I'm supposed to be in.
No. He should take it personally.
He should.
He absolutely should.
I took that personally, and you should.
Yeah, Michael Jordan meme that into oblivion. You should absolutely take that personally. I think the team should too, even though I do find it justifiable. I'm like you, I can see it justifiable that South Carolina's outside the top 10, even though I think they'll be better than Missouri because Missouri's not going to be able to stop a nosebleed this year. I think they're going to have to win their games in the 30s and 40s, which is why I'm kind of like them. I think it's kind of fun. I think they're going to be better than Florida because I don't know what Florida's going to be at the most important position, which is quarterback, right? If I have to choose a team to pick higher between one team that has a quarterback question mark and one team that's got a total offensive line question mark, I'll take the team that I at least know has a good quarterback and is getting an offensive coordinator upgrade from the offseason, right? Who may be a little bit more equipped to handle some of the offensive line issues if we have them. We'll go out to the AAA Heating and Air phone lines because Rob is on the line with us early this morning.
Early?
Yeah, early. Good morning, Rob. Welcome to the early game.
Good morning.
How we doing, Rob?
All right, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
Okay. I just wanted one comment is, I kind of get a little fed up with people saying that the defense wasn't good last year because they spent most of the time on the field because the offense wasn't doing anything with a bunch of 4 and outs, and even they still managed to get turnovers, yet everybody keeps saying they just didn't do a good job as the team the year before, but I think they did a great job because under the circumstances, they were always on the field.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, especially want to get Preston's thoughts on that.
Well, thank you, Rob. Appreciate you tuning in early. We appreciate the phone call early. I think that's a very astute point because even if you look at a game like Alabama where they had the lead and the defense lost the lead because there was a lead in the fourth quarter, if you don't watch the game, what you don't understand is that the offense gave the ball back 3 straight times after 3 and outs. And so all they really had, even Texas A&M, both of those times, all the offense really had to do was maybe mount a semblance of a drive. I'm not even saying score points, but they wouldn't even taking time off the clock.
Bingo.
And so, yes, the defense did give up those leads. Yes, that is the fact. But with context, it comes a little bit harder to parse that out, and you could really point to the offense, as Rob said.
Well, if you want to use the Texas A&M game as an example, at halftime A&M's going to start hitting on some explosives. You have not seen the best of them yet, right? They were the number 3 team in the country. That is an explosive passing game with a quarterback who will throw for 300-plus yards. They're going to get theirs, and sometimes the offense just beats you. Right. So you can have the best defensive plan against an offense, and sometimes it's not going to matter because Mario Craver or Casey Concepcion, a guy who, by the way, first-round draft pick in the National Football League, just beats you over the top or outruns you, right? Sometimes there is nothing you can do. That will happen. You knew that was going to happen a couple times in the second half. But what you were banking on in order to preserve that lead is getting a couple first downs, even if it doesn't result in points. Can you melt the clock a little bit? Can you decrease Texas A&M's margin for error and eliminate some of that? And you just weren't able to do it, right? I think that's a perfect example of what exactly you're talking about there, because by the time you have your third straight 3 and out and A&M scores, that's how they cut that lead away completely in 1 quarter. That is a lead that should have cost you or took 2 quarters to completely erase, right? That got done in a quarter. You felt differently about that game in just one 15-minute segment of football because you can't continue to stay on the field. I think that's a really good point from Rob. And if we want to play overrated, underrated, or properly rated, I think you can put Clayton White in the criminally underrated category.
Agreed.
Not just underrated, criminally underrated. Because if you even buy into the fact, which I will, it was a down year based off what 2024 was. The standard in 24 was set so high that it was going to be really hard to replicate that, maybe almost impossible when you lose that many players. There's still a almost top 30 defense in college football. If that is a dip year, I will take that any single time. And coming up next, though, it wasn't just the predicted order of finish that was revealed on Friday. We have our all-SEC mentions in the Gamecocks. Only have 2. Who are those players and what do we think about it? Well, we'll tell you next here on the early game.
Press here for the good folks at Integrated Media. Listen, you're starting to hear words like camp, report, two-a-days, all those fun things that make you know that football season is around the corner, and that means that you need to make sure that you call the folks from Integrated Media to get your outdoor setup ready. What does the outdoor setup look like? Samsung Terrace TVs that are waterproof, Sonos outdoor speakers for TV and music, Wi-Fi that works indoors and outdoor. That's my personal favorite because that means you can have all your favorite devices running at the same time. Your laptop, your iPad, your TV, your desktop, whatever you want running, the folks from Integrated Media can help you get that all set up and you don't have to worry about any lag time or buffering. From home theater setup to adjusting your thermostat or monitoring your security systems from your cell phone, Integrated Media is who you need to call. So call Nathan and Michael at 803-948-8327. That's 803-948-8327. Or reach them online at integratedmediainc.com.
No accidents to start your Monday morning. So glad to hear that. We might see an isolated thunderstorm pop up today or tomorrow. 93 today, 97. Yep, the heat is back. 95 with clouds on Wednesday. 75 right now.
Some of my favorite awards that you get in life are the ones that you don't have to do anything for. And I think an all SEC preseason or any type of preseason accolade is one that you technically don't have to do anything for. What's your name recognition? What'd you do last year?
Yes.
And what do people think you're going to do, right?
Well, that's really interesting because the question I have is this a award based on reputation or potential production?
See, I probably had some teachers that were like, preseason all college dropout, this guy immediately. First ballot, number one. But I think it is I think it is more production than potential because you look at the guys that are selected, it is a lot of potential of production of what you did last year. With the assumption that what you do this year will top that. So I guess to answer your question.
So they're saying everybody's trajectory is up.
Up. Yeah. That it is up, going in the right direction. When it comes to South Carolina, though, only 2 players were given honors. Nick Harbor, 3rd team All-SEC at wide receiver. Dylan Stewart, 1st team All-SEC at the edge position or the defensive line. They really kind of just grouped them as, when I was voting, they don't have an edge-specific category. It is all defensive line. I could have put just all edge rushers if I wanted to.
Yeah, the SEC needs to do better than that.
Yeah, we need to be a little more nuanced here. We classify positions a little bit differently than we used to in football.
Yeah.
But he is 1st team All-SEC defensive line. I think the only one that may be a surprise is people buying on Nick Harbor to advance. I think that might be a benefit of him going to media days and making rounds, right, to different stations because he wasn't just at our table. He was at 104.5 The Zone in Nashville, which covers a lot of SEC. That is a very SEC melting pot type of town. He did a lot of the national stuff, right? Even some like the SEC podcast, the online platforms. He made his rounds.
I get it. He's tall, strong, smart,
charming. It helps.
Put him in.
And then, the guy runs faster than lightning. He's just. Whoosh.
I get it.
Yeah. So I 100% get it. But that one was when I was like, okay, well, it's not just us buying into it, right? I think the nation is expecting him to have his best season in 2026. We'll go ahead and start with the first sports talky thing. Are there any snubs on this list?
Lenoris. Because my conclusion is that Nick Harbor can't make the 3rd team SEC list if Lenoris doesn't make the 3rd team SEC list. This is not going to happen.
Somebody's got to get in the ball.
Somebody has to get him the rock. And if his production is to go up the way they think or the way everybody's predicting, it's going to have to be Lenoris getting him the ball. And that would mean that Lenoris' stats are going to. So those two are interconnected.
So you're telling me my ballot was logically correct because I had also voted Nick Harbor to be an All-SEC receiver. And I had Lenoris as my 3rd team quarterback.
There you go.
Which you only take 3 quarterbacks. I think they should probably make 4. That way, and then point them out by each one because there's like 7 different spots for.
Maybe. I think Lenoris is that snub. You mentioned it last segment. Vakari Swain has a very strong argument for a snub as far as specialists is concerned.
That's my number 1 right there.
Mm-hmm.
That's the one where I'm like, okay. It's not just touchdowns, right? If I'm looking for something valuable in a kick and punt returner, I need somebody who's going to set me up in good field position. Vakari Swain did that a lot. Even if he didn't take the rock back to the house, he was getting you a lot closer to the house than you were where the kick initially landed. And I think that's pretty valuable.
And again, his really the hidden value is that now we have to account for him. So the punter has to think about where he's punting the ball. We have to form coverages based on where he is. I would love to see like the number of shanks / bad punts that come on account of you having somebody back there that can return the ball.
In terms of return specialist, Ryan Niblett from Texas was the 1st team return specialist.
I'm sorry, Niblett?
Yes.
That's what you heard?
That is his last name. Ryan Niblett was the 1st team.
Unfortunate.
Isaiah Satania at Oklahoma was the return specialist for the 2nd team. And for the 3rd team, Vernell Brown III at Florida.
You know what? I'm so glad you got to the 3rd because when I've not heard that name, Vernell, I know he was named after somebody.
Oh, and
Three generations
Yeah, I was
deep.
getting ready to say this is volume
I
3
don't think
of Vernell Brown.
we're not doing Vernell's a lot.
We don't like Vernell's or Vernon's like we used to.
Not a lot of Vernons around. Vernell's is definitely.
Isn't it fortunate that his last name isn't Niblet?
Honestly, Vernell Niblet does sound like a really good alias to use when I'm out of town,
You know,
especially Vernell Niblet the third.
Yeah.
There are three generations of it, and yes, the Vernon and Vernell factory may have moved out of town a long time ago, but I can be proof they're still making them.
Vernell the third. I mean, I just hadn't heard that.
Yeah, I think that may be the first Vernell I've ever heard of.
Well, it's deep cut. It's very close to Varnell, which was Varnell Hill on the Martin Lawrence show.
Okay.
He was a recurring character. Somebody out there is feeling me. Did you miss me? That's a very, very deep cut.
Somebody got that.
Somebody got that. But yeah, you don't hear that often. Point being, you think Vakari should be on that list?
100%. And I think it is the ability to return for touchdowns. I think he should have been for the defensive backs too. I mean, I voted him pretty high. I mean, based on my ballot, he probably would have been second or third team All SEC according to my ballot. I think he is a very underrated. If the whole theme of the show today is overrated, underrated, or properly rated,
I like it. Let's do sports talk, baby.
we're gonna do the sports talk thing. Vakari Swain is underrated as a defensive back. And according to this, he's underrated as a kick returner, a kick and punt returner, which I think is a little silly.
Well, can we go back to overrated?
Yes.
Because Nick Harbor was third team wide receiver. Ryan Coleman Williams is first team wide receiver. And are we still doing that?
Even though he regressed. If you want to talk about people maybe punishing Lenoris for regression last year, Ryan Coleman Williams regressed because he dropped a lot of passes last year.
Mm-hmm.
Did he still make some plays? Yeah, for sure. And there's still a ton of talent there. And I think he, at his best, is a top 2 receiver in this league. I don't know if I put him above Cam Coleman, but I think he is top 2. But there's a little bit of a dropsies problem, and that's one that you do not want to have as a wide receiver.
First team All SEC. Overrated, underrated, properly rated.
Based off of his freshman year, properly rated. Based off of last year, overrated.
Gotcha.
And I think that might be how a lot of people would have, I guess, that'd been the conclusion a lot of people would have reached when I tell them I had Lenoir Sellers third team All SEC quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
Because I do think he will be. That is some projection there on my part too. The same way I think for a lot of them, there's a lot of projection there for Ryan Coleman.
I'm not looking at the list. I would assume since Lenoris is not there, it is Arch, Trinidad, and who's the third?
Trinidad is the first team quarterback.
Uh-huh.
Arch is the second team quarterback. Gunnar Stockton is the third team quarterback.
Okay.
And I think Gunnar Stockton is a good quarterback. I did not put it. And to me, I think it was Gunnar Stockton or Lenoir Sellers at that spot. And I was like, I'll take the higher upside statistically there.
The quick point is this. In order for this season to be successful for the Gamecocks, Lenoris has to be on that list.
Yes.
Gunnar does not have to be on that list
No.
for them to be successful. And
Yeah.
that's the point.
Gunnar could hand the rock off 60 times a game and they'd be just okay.
Correct.
Right. South Carolina needs Lenoris. They do not have the luxury of just being able to hand the rock off 60 times a game and be A-okay. But coming up next, though, Shane Beamer gave a review of his team at SEC Media Days. And does his logic match up? Well, we'll hear from him and we'll explain why or why not next.
All right, guys, football season is almost here. Maybe you've been working out all year to this point and you haven't reached your goals yet. Well, maybe it's time to take a step back and call Dr. Dan Baltnight from the Men's Clinic. Dr. Dan Baltnight is a respected local physician, and he'll help you reach all of the goals that you haven't reached yet. This isn't some nameless, faceless online clinic. Dr. Dan Baltnight is an actual person, and he will personally tailor your treatment program based on your labs and your symptoms. The best part, you come in to Dr. Dan Baltnight and you'll get an initial consultation for free. Come in, get your T-levels checked. You have nothing to lose and everything to gain. So don't wait. Call him at 803-875-MENS. That's 803-875-MENS. Or you can visit them online at mensclinicsc.com.
Still looking pretty good for your Monday morning commute. No accidents to report. We don't have anything that is indicating significant delays anywhere across the Midlands. 93 is going to be our high today, 97 tomorrow. Isolated thunderstorms are a slight possibility for the next couple of days. By Wednesday, some clouds and 95. We stay in the low 90s for the remainder of the week. Right now, though, 75.
South Carolina picked 11th in the SEC before the season, at least the SEC Media Days in Tampa. I think Shane Beamer predicted this was going to be the case. And when he was selling his team, when he was at the podium over at SEC Media Days, here's what Shane had to say as kind of just like the overview for his football team coming into this season.
We got the same players that you picked us high for last year. They're back this year, and they're a year older, which excites me. I like the freshmen that we brought in. It's a very mature freshman class. I like the transfers that we've brought in. Winners. We've got 7 new transfers that have either won a national championship or participated in the college football playoff at their previous school. So we've got guys that are used to winning, and they're very mature. You look at us offensively, got a new offensive coordinator in Kendall Briles, new offensive line coach in Randy Clements, and a new running backs coach and associate head coach in Stan Drayton. Those guys are proven coaches and recruiters that have made us better already. A core group of returning players and some experienced transfers that have come in. We've obviously got to be more efficient and more consistent on offense than what we've been. Defensively, it's year 6 in this system with Clayton White, our defensive coordinator, who doesn't get enough credit for how good he is at what he does. He's one of the best defensive coordinators in the entire nation. Year 6 with him. We've got to continue to be opportunistic. Since 2021, when we got to Columbia, we lead the SEC in takeaways defensively. We've got to continue to be that aggressive, opportunistic group. We've got a good mix of returners and youth in the back 7, and then we've certainly added to our depth along the defensive line. New special teams coordinator in Matthew Smiley, who's been a good addition to our program. We'll continue to be aggressive there. We lead the SEC in block kicks since I've been the head coach at South Carolina. So defensively and special teams, we've got to continue to be aggressive, and we will be in all facets of special teams.
So that's his overview. And part of the logic he said, because the first thing you heard in that clip, Preston Thorne, was we have a lot of the same players as last year and some new players that we're really excited about. Now, he had said maybe before that we have a lot of the same players, and you guys picked us high last year. We have those same players back, and you're going to pick us lower this year. Logically, does that match up? When you hear that, if you were sitting in that ballroom with me, Preston Thorne, what would have gone through your head?
Well, Shane was doing a thing just then where he was running off a lot of numbers and statistics, and he kind of had my head spinning for a minute, so I would have been like, yeah, I guess, because everything else was sounding good, but I just had to decompress and take it all in. Shane was really good at that. My answer to Shane and company would be, yes, they do have the same players. Yes, you all do have the same players. Yes, you have the same players. My brother, I think this is a referendum on you, not them. I think this is about what they think of. Here's what they think about you, not the players, because there's other schools in here, i.e. Pete Golding and crew who are back, and they think they're going to be really high.
Yeah,
I don't know if that's why. I don't know if that's why they think that's because what they think of Trinidad Chambliss or what they think is Pete's ability to handle that. But I would again go back to, yeah, you are if you're looking around, you're trying to figure out why they don't have it. It's because maybe they don't have a lot of faith in you and your staff, and that has changed. But you're gonna have to look that one in the mirror,
because that's where the biggest notable changes are. That in your offensive line, which has gotten an extreme makeover. Still waiting on Ty Pennington's appearance to tell us to move that bus to see what the offensive line actually looks like, right, in practicality. I see what he's saying in terms of, like, the headliners, right? Your headliners are still Lenora Sellers. It's still Nick Harbor. It's still Dylan Stewart. And if we're playing the Preston Thorne exercise of coach, quarterback, and we'll throw edge rusher in there too, because I think we are all in agreement that is almost as equally important as your quarterback is the person who can terrorize the other team's quarterback. You would look at the player standpoint and you would say, yeah, that is one of the best in this league, one of the best combos in this league. What you think of Shane Beamer probably dictates how you would put that trio in comparison to the rest of the league.
Yeah, because if we're going to just do the same exercise, when I say if anybody would look across the sideline and say, I'd rather have that guy, a lot of teams in the SEC even still would say Lenora Sellers. The question Shane has to answer for himself is how many fan bases would say, I'd rather have Shane Beamer than my guy? I don't know what the answer is to that. But that is sort of because if we're just talking who you would rather have, a lot of teams would rather have Lenora Sellers. How many fan bases would rather have Shane Beamer? I don't know.
Yeah, and I think that's what Shane has to prove. This is a big proving year for Shane. Yeah,
which starts on September 19th.
Against Mississippi State.
Correct.
one of the Weenie Hut Jr. card carrying holders here in this league, them in Arkansas. And the best part of the series, you get both of them. You get both the Weenie Hut Jr. teams.
Nice.
But one thing I find interesting in that clip too is talking about transfers and big time game experience. Can they actually bring that to South Carolina when things get tough, right? I look at, like anybody that you brought from Alabama. Now, Alabama did have to face some adversity last year because they did have an internal struggle throughout the course of the year. They were winning games against top 25 teams. They won 4 straight of them. It looked like the best team in college football. Came here to South Carolina, looked a little vulnerable, and wasn't the same team ever since, right? And then they were able to at least win a playoff game. It's valuable experience, but when you play here, you're going to face more adversity naturally by virtue of not being Alabama. Nick Saban or no Nick Saban, can you bring in an element of leadership that you saw by example at the other places? I did find it encouraging, though, that Peyton Williams, when talking about leaders throughout the offseason, mentioned Kelby Collins as one of those guys who I believe you got from Alabama. That I find that to be encouraging. I think that is where the value actually is. If those guys can actually bring that from a leadership standpoint, then what Shane reeled off there when he was kind of summarizing his team actually matters.
That's very true, but I'm going to take this the opposite stance. Not the opposite stance, but also who's Alabama? It's kind of about time that we've kind of said, all right, they're not better than us, and maybe none of these CFP teams have a better culture or coach better than us. Maybe it's time that we say there's no difference between us and them because we should have beat Alabama. Could have beat Alabama for the last 2 years. I won't say should have. Maybe should have in 2024. Could have beat them in 2025. But maybe it's time that we look at the folks from Alabama and say, all right, cool. Glad you played over there, but you're not that much different or advanced than we are here.
They closed the games out, though.
They did.
Can they come in here and help you close the games out? That to me is where you were missing so much from 24 to 25 is just a complete and total inability to close those out. Like as a team with Tonka Hemingway, TJ Sanders, Demetrius Knight, Kyle Kennard, not close those games out last year. Does that lead against A&M slip away? Does that lead in the fourth quarter against Alabama slip away? That's a big question. And those are guys I do believe in football, and not just football, in sports too. There are players that have winner and loser DNA. When things get hard, the guys that may be incredibly talented will kind of check out. Those who have winner DNA won't, right? There are plenty of examples, even pro sports, of guys that I just think have just loser DNA in them. Someone like
James Harden,
loser DNA, right? Joel Embiid, loser DNA. There are quarterbacks in the NFL, right? Lamar Jackson has a little bit of it.
He can't beat the Chargers.
Justin Herbert has some loser DNA in there.
Cannot beat the Chargers.
You got to have guys that can go in there and just refuse to let a game come out of their grasp. And if you brought those guys into this room, then what Shane said, I think, matters the most.
Not to derail it, but LeBron's going to be so frustrated. He's going to be so frustrated.
Oh, Joel Embiid, DNP for the 10th straight game. Ah! I am 42 years old. I can't play the entire season, Joel. Yeah, there might be a murder happening in Philadelphia. But coming up next, though, what does Nick Harbor see from Lenoris this offseason? We'll hear from him next. 803-404-6100. Before we get to Nick Harbour and Lenora Sellers, we will go out to the AAA Heating and Air phone lines where Steve is on the line with us this morning. Good morning, Steve. Welcome to the early game.
Good morning. How y'all doing?
Fantastic. How are you?
Great. You know, I'm a Gamecock fan. Been there. I'm going way back to Jim Collins and George Hunter. And my thing is, I listen to Shane Beamer talk, and I like the things he says, but I really don't pay coaches attention when they talk like that because it's like a rich guy leasing a car every year they trade it in. The last 3 or 4 years, I got a new offensive coordinator, a new offensive line coach. I got this, I got that. But Beamer don't understand something. My eyes is on Beamer. My eyes not on the assistant coaches. It don't make no difference who you bring in there. You the head coach. So my focus on you. My thing is you can't keep changing offensive coordinator, offensive line coach, this coach, every season and expect to build something. Unless you have a team, let's see the type of coach like a coach who can see something going on offense, and he can, like Nick Saban, he takes it over. Now, Beamer don't have that capability. He puts it all on the offensive coordinator. So that to me, I could repress it. It's like, would you take Lenora Sellers or would you take Shane Beamer from that standpoint?
Mm-hmm.
I like the things he's saying, but man, it's got to be proven. I mean, taking these coaches like that, I mean, it's gonna come down to you. Now, I wish we have successful season. I wish we can go all the way.
Mm-hmm.
But let's just see what happens, man. But I think he's missing something. I don't know exactly what it is, but that's just my take on what I heard in the street this morning.
Yeah, absolutely. Appreciate the call, Steve. And I think I wrote down on my sheet here while you were talking, I wrote down the word consistency. I think that's the reason maybe a lot of folks down in Tampa weren't able to buy in to what they heard. Now, I guess if you're doing the trend thing, it is an even year Shane Beamer, so that means we are in for at least 8 wins, right? But the big thing is it's harder for people to buy in to what you're selling as a program if every other year it's one way or the other, right? Consistency matters the most, and you followed up 9 wins with 4. So the skepticism I think that a lot of people have had in Tampa when they're filling these ballots out when it comes to maybe the leadership of the program, I would say is warranted, right? Because if you do something really good, if I come in here and I am attentive, I am locked in every day, and then I come in the next morning and I am half asleep, hey, welcome to the early game. Oh, man. Oh, my head hurts. Hey, Preston, how you doing? Boss wouldn't love that. But if I'm good the next day, then, hey, can we just do that every single day? Then my boss would be much more happy with me, right? Terry would be much more enthused with me if I'm able to do that every single day as opposed to just every other day. I think when it comes to the perception of this program in the SEC, there is hey, can we get you to come into work sharp like that every day? Can we get you sharp every season? Can you start the season off in SEC play a lot stronger every single year? And I think that's where a lot of the skepticism may lie. And I think consistency is the big thing in terms of just the perception of this program. What is missing, because we have seen some really good highs in the last 4 or 5 years. But the lows have also been pretty bad, too.
Right. And to Steve's point, yes, it all comes down to the accountability, and it stops at the head coach. And the head coach, it's not as if these coordinators have been foisted upon Shane. He's went out and picked 3 duds in a row. And so the 4th one comes with a little bit of cachet, and maybe he's finally gotten it right here. But no, those were your picks, and so you are responsible for those offenses that were put on the field at that moment. So maybe he gets it right this time. Hopefully, he has to get it right this time. There's no hopefully. They have to get it right.
It's a must.
This time. It's a must, and that's why Kendall was brought in, and that's why he was able to bring Coach Clement, change the whole offense, and we'll see.
And also part of consistency, too, is continuity. And this is going to be for Lenora Sellers, his 3rd offensive coordinator in 3 years. He's had to learn. I know the reason you elevated Shula was to kind of have some semblance of continuity, right? That's the whole rationale behind elevating Mike Shula to that position. But at the end of the day, it is still 3 different offensive coordinators in 3 years. And what you want is a successful year this year where you can bring the coordinator back, have proof of concept, and be able to get into some type of rhythm, right? That's why this year also mildly important, not just for if Shane Beamer is going to be the coach here next year, but if you can steadily build a program. There's a difference between building one good team and building a really consistent program. And consistency and continuity are the 2 words that come to my mind when listening to what Steve had to say, what his concerns are with leadership and the coaching staff. That matters a lot. The 2 C's, if you will. Coming up next, though, hour number 1 in the books. Hour number 2, we'll start off with the rest of that ballot of SEC Media Days. Georgia picked to win this thing for a 3rd straight year. Are we buying that? We'll discuss next.
It rained this weekend. It was a little bit cool. There was an overcast. It was pretty nice. But guess what? I hope you bottle it up and put it on your shelf because it's not going to last long and it's going to get hot. And when it does, the folks from AAA Heating and Air will be there to help you. It's running up into the end of July. August is coming. The heat is on the way. And at AAA Heating and Air, your home comfort is their top priority. So don't wait any longer. Call them so that expert technicians can come in and get your system in prime working condition. And if you want even more peace of mind, you can ask about the AAA Comfort Club, where members enjoy priority scheduling, flexible visits, and exclusive discounts. Take your home comfort to the next level and call AAA Heating and Air today at 803-920-3771. That's 803-920-3771.
No accidents at this time, no significant slowdowns either, and forecast that will be warming up. 93 today, 97 tomorrow, 95 on Wednesday. We stay in the low 90s for the remainder of the week. A couple isolated thunderstorms are possible, maybe today or tomorrow. 75 is what we're looking at right now on 107.5 The Game.
Hour number 2 of the early game starts right now. I'm Elijah Campbell. He's Preston Thorne. She's Jen Jensen. And we have been talking about the preseason poll for the SEC media members down in Tampa during media days. And we talked about South Carolina being 11th, and we'll get into more of that as the show goes on. But I wanted to get into the entirety of the SEC, right? Because we reeled off the list earlier in terms of what the final voting results ended up being. And Georgia was selected number 1. Now, if we go up and down this list, Texas received the second most votes. Georgia got 88 votes to win the league. Texas got 57. Then Ole Miss had 6. A&M had 5. Alabama had 3. Oklahoma had 2. LSU had 2. And you'll never guess who got a single vote to win the conference. If you're guessing, is it the team that was picked 14th by the rest of the media? You would be correct.
Yeah, we need to find out who did that.
I have an idea who did it.
Gotcha.
I have a clue. I have a hunch. I'll have to do some digging to find out for sure. But
it's like somebody writing a name in the right inbox. I was like, hey man, cool, but you're not playing this game right. You're not doing this right.
Welcome to ABC News' election night coverage. SpongeBob SquarePants gets 3 votes in the state of Montana.
It's like, good for you. I hope that was great. I hope that was fun.
Oh, I hope it was worth it. I hope you got a really good chuckle on the way back to the house. I hope you got a kick out of it.
Come on. Whoever, we'll find you.
Yeah, and you're getting on the line, too. And you'll run until I puke, okay? That's the rule here. But then the projected order finish after all the votes are tallied. Georgia number 1, Texas 2, Ole Miss 3, A&M 4, LSU 5, Alabama 6, Oklahoma 7, Tennessee 8, Florida 9, Missouri 10, then followed by South Carolina at 11, Auburn at 12, Vanderbilt at 13, Kentucky at 14, Mississippi State at 15, Arkansas at 16. But I want to focus on Georgia right now first before we can get into any of the more overrated, underrated, or properly rated.
We're doing sports talk today, baby.
Oh, this is the good stuff, right? This is what gets my blood flowing. This is what gets me to wake up at 4:15.
40 days to kick off. You're getting excited now.
Woo! All right, now we have rankings. We have lists. I can say something is overrated or underrated or properly rated. This is what we do this business for. But Georgia at number 1, we can even start there. Winning the SEC 3 times in a row is insanely difficult. Alabama with Nick Saban did it in the mid-2010s. And Steve Spurrier in Florida did it in the early 90s, right? They won 3 of the first 4 SEC titles, and they won 3 in a row. I think they might have won 4 in a row after losing the first one. But those are the only 2 head coaches and programs that have done this. I think you can look at Kirby Smart and what he's built at Georgia and say, yeah, that is a program that would fit the mold of what Steve Spurrier did at Florida and what Nick Saban did at Alabama. They belong in that tier. But do we look at this year's Georgia team and expect them to be able to win it again for the 3rd year in a row?
Yes. And the expectation is based on the past performance, based on a lot of what we talked about with these SEC teams. I don't really need to know what Kirby's up to, but I do believe in Kirby. And I do believe in his system. I do believe in his staff. We talk about continuity. We talk about all the themes that we've talked about to this point. And I don't need to do a lot of studying on Georgia to know that they're going to be in the mix. I just don't. And then when I do study a little bit and I find out that Kirby's on a mission because the defense wasn't up to his standard last year, motivated Kirby on the defensive side of the ball would give me an easy reason to put him number 1.
I put them at number 2, and I think it is in large part because how much better will their defense be in terms of sacking the quarterback and turning the ball over. If you look at Kirby Smart's defenses, let's go back to 2019. Here's the sack totals in each year. 31 in 2019, 32 in 2020, 49 in 2021, 35 in 22, 30 in 23, 37 in 2024, and 20 last season. That's a pretty steep drop-off. And I look at the list of edge rushers that they have in defensive linemen. Are they all really good? Yes, they're all highly touted players, but they have not really proven that they will be able to get to the quarterback consistently. It's maybe the worst year they had in terms of forcing pressures on an opposing quarterback. What I do like about that defense is that the secondary is a lot better. And that is one of the better secondary units in the Southeastern Conference. And if Kirby Smart and Glenn Schumann are calling the plays and they're coordinating that defense, they're going to be fine. But I think in order to win the SEC, and I don't know if you get away with having a team turnover margin of 0 and not getting to the opposing quarterback. That's one thing. If I'm projecting stuff for next year, I don't think they'll be significantly better. They may get better by virtue of that being a almost impossibly low mark for a Kirby Smart coach defense, but I don't know if that's getting significantly better.
Yeah, because when I think about their two signature games to me from last year, they were shootouts, Tennessee and Ole Miss. And that's not how you typically tend to think of
Both
Kirby
Ole Miss
Smart
games.
team.
Yeah.
Yeah, yes.
The one even in Athens. There was not a punt in that game until the fourth quarter.
That's not how you typically think. And I'm sure even in the games that they won, Kirby was not happy. Kirby's very similar to we talked about Steve Spurrier. Like, I contend that the best year of Steve Spurrier's coaching career was here when Dylan Thompson was throwing the ball over the field. We went 7-5. He was like, yes.
Even after losses, he goes in the press conference. Well, at least we all had fun.
Right. Same for Kirby. They could win a game 45-42, and he is pissed.
Yeah, that is not a happy man.
He is not happy about it. So that I do think there will be an emphasis on that to make a difference. And again, the secondary is his baby. That is going to be something that is better.
And it is really good. You might not find a better all-around trio, I guess, of Ellis Robinson, Khalil Barnes, and KJ Bolden. It's going to be hard to find 3 members of a secondary that are going to be better than that, like as a group. Offensively, they'll run the ball really well. I love their offensive line. I think Ernest Green was a clear shoe-in as a first-team All-SEC guy. Drew Bobo, I think, proved himself as a legitimate run blocker in this league, playing center. And the running back room, that's the most loaded running back room in college football, right? They will run the ball at will. And Gunnar Stockton is a really good rule follower of an offense. He's one of those guys where I think his ceiling may be limited, but he's got an incredibly high floor if we want to continue to get really sports talky this morning. Low ceiling, but a really high floor, right? Do you take that guy as your quarterback? It's perfect for what Georgia does. He's going to have to continue to start winning them games in the fourth quarter, though, when you do get into the season. He's proven at least that he can do that, and I think you can trust him in terms of just following the structure of the offense and doing what is asked of him on a weekly basis.
Yeah, but the idea of game manager is sort of a pejorative when you talk about quarterbacks, and I think some people might have put Gunnar in that category. And I don't know if you're trying to slide him in that category. Maybe he's got like one toe in.
He's dabbling in the art of game management. He's just a part-timer there.
As Lou Holtz used to say, 1 foot in the grave and 1 foot on a banana peel. As far as going in, as far as death is concerned,
Gunnar Stockton's game management tag is
1 foot in the grave, 1 foot on a banana peel. That being said, I did see him make a lot of plays last year at the end of games, whether it was with his feet, whether it was throwing the ball. I do have confidence that if the game comes down to it, he can make a play. So even though he may not have the ceiling and may not make all of the exciting plays throughout the game, I do have some pretty strong confidence in him as opposed to his predecessor, Carson Beck, who could make all the fancy throws and could do all of those things. I had no faith in him at the end of games.
Because he could make the big mistake.
Right.
Well, the reason Georgia didn't win 3 straight national championships is because Carson Beck fumbled the ball in the SEC title game. The reason Georgia doesn't already have 3 straight SEC championship wins is because Carson Beck fumbled the football.
Some would argue the reason why Miami doesn't have a national championship.
He did make the bad interception at the end of the game that cost him. They had the ball, the chance to win, and a Carson Beck interception was the only thing that way could have ended, right? And it's the reason why they had to sweat it out on that Sunday, at Selection Sunday, is because of the interceptions he threw against SMU and Louisville, which gave them their 2 regular season losses. That is part of the duality of Carson Beck. You don't have that level of duality with Gunnar Stockton. I don't fault any of the 88 folks who picked Georgia to win this thing. Because do I trust Georgia more than I do Texas? Absolutely. And do I trust them more than any team in the SEC? Absolutely.
Now, let's do it. We're going sports talk here. That is because you trust Kirby, or is that a distrust of Sark and Art? Sark and Art.
It is a trust of Kirby. I do trust Sark and Arch because I think they really figured it out last year. The splits between that in that offense from the first 7 games to the last 6, and it wasn't like they were playing slouches either. It is a pretty big difference. There is a massive difference. And also, Sark finally trusted Arch more. He threw the ball significantly more in that last 6-game stretch than they did the first 7. And if you just go back and watch some of those games from the first 7 games of the year, there were times where you could genuinely ask, does Sark trust Arch Manning to throw the ball down the field? Does he trust him to do some of the fancier stuff with his offense that Sark has in his bag? That was not a question the last 6 games of the year, right? They had the switch. When they got down big to Mississippi State, they erased that in a heartbeat because that offense found its switch. Even with a receiving core that dropped almost 25 passes last season, they still have a switch. And they got significantly better this offseason from a pass catcher and running back perspective. And the offensive line's still good enough to be able to do what they wanted. The offensive line will actually be better than it was last year because of what they return and who they're able to bring in portal-wise. I think Texas just has the best roster in the SEC. And I think this is a year they can finally put it together. They've got guys on that team that have fallen just short the last couple of years. They're experienced. I think they're just a better roster right now. Georgia, I don't blame anybody because there's a trust factor of what Kirby has done as a coach in this conference and in college football, winning 2 national titles, dominating this league, always seeming to play in the SEC championship game. The biggest shocker this year is if Georgia's not playing in Atlanta in the first weekend of December. To me, that's just I'm banking on it maybe not winning it this year because it is so hard to win this thing 3 years in a row.
Well, can I ask you a question? We're talking about the idea of trust. And if we're looking at the top 5, Georgia, Texas, Ole Miss, Texas A&M, LSU. To me, there's only one coach in that list that you don't trust on the field. Now, there's one we definitely don't trust off the field or anything surrounding the field. But are we thinking the same way that there's one coach out of this that I'm trying to figure out why we trust them so much?
Oh, that'd be Pete Golding. Yeah.
Yeah.
That would 100% be Pete Golding. I think that is more of a representation of the trust in his players and that your players are so good that there's no way you mess that up that bad, right? Even 8-4, I think, would be Ole Miss messing it up. If that Ole Miss team goes 8-4, Pete Golding messed that up. Because that offense is just way too loaded, way too talented. You brought back way too much on a team that was one drive away from going to the national championship game. If you do not win at least, I would even say 9. I'll give him 3 losses on that schedule. You don't get at least 9 wins with that roster, then you may never sniff 9 wins as a head coach in this league because that roster is so good at Ole Miss.
Jen, can you cue our Pete Golding sound up real quick here? Because if Pete Golding only wins 8 games, what might happen to him, Jen? He might
You're going to get fired.
You'll get fired.
So what's the number where Pete gets fired? Is it 8? Is it 7? Is it 6? We're doing sports talk here, baby.
Oh, well, if he gets 6, they might just, yeah. Well, because then it's really giving Matt Luke vibes, right?
It's just the inherent trust in him without any proven track record. Yes, he took over a team that was already in motion. He did all that. And that's cool, but I need to see it.
He did a good job of Steve Fishering them almost to a national championship. For those who don't know, Steve Fisher took over Michigan men's basketball in 1989 when their head coach took an Arizona State job right before the NCAA tournament, and Steve Fisher coached them as an interim to a national championship. Mm-hmm. And then he ended up having a pretty successful career on his own as a head coach. Do we get that with Pete Golding? I think that's up to Pete Golding, right? I think he's a solid defensive mind. His defenses didn't necessarily set the world on fire, but that offense is really good. If he can't work as the head football coach and have the offensive and hire the right offensive coordinator, which I think he hired a really good one, right? John David Baker from East Carolina hired a really good one and a really fun offense.
He was on our big board.
He was on our big board, and Coach Baker's got a lot of toys to play with there at Ole Miss when it comes to the quarterback, running back, and that plethora of receivers and solid offensive line. This season's also going to be a little bit of a referendum on Pete Golding as well. But coming up next, it's the early game morning meeting. I can't speak. Well, it's trivia time, and we're going to quiz Preston Thorne and see if you can guess this coming up next.
No accidents at this time. Nothing that we are seeing as significant slowdowns. So all good things this morning, and a great way to start your Monday. 93 today, maybe an isolated thunderstorm. Small chance of that, as well as tomorrow. Again, today's high 93. Tomorrow, 97. We'll see some clouds on Wednesday, 95 for the high, and we'll stay in the low 90s for really the rest of this week. So the temperatures are back up, and we're still in summer. Currently 75.
It's trivia time. That's what we're doing for today's morning meeting. I'm going to have Preston guess who the 5 players in South Carolina's history are that ended as consensus All-Americans. Not just All-Americans, consensus All-Americans, meaning every major publication that does All-American awards. Who was an All-American on all of them? Preston's thinking really hard. You should be thinking really hard, too, because that's what we're going to answer for today's morning meeting.
Good morning. Good morning. Repeat after me. Today will be an awesome day.
Even on Pop Quiz Day.
Let's go.
Good morning, great today. Today will be an awesome day. Good morning, great today. Today will be an awesome day.
So there are 5 of these players, Preston Thorne, that were consensus All-Americans, according to collegefootballreference.com. And the years do range from 1984 to this decade.
Consensus All-American.
All-American. So we've been talking a lot about preseason All-SEC. It would take a while for me to find how many Gamecocks were preseason All-SEC, dating back to the original years of SEC Media Days. But I thought, let's get spicier.
Yeah. Okay. This is tough. And if anybody out there, if you know them, send them in. I did resist the temptation to look this up, so this is going straight off. But I'm going to have to start with Sterling Sharp as one of them.
He is not.
Oh,
Surprisingly,
no.
he is not
Oh, no.
one of the 5.
Okay. Well, then this gets a little bit tougher. And it's going to descend into guys naming dudes here very quickly.
There is, the spirit may overtake the station.
Okay. I think I have one in my back pocket that I'm going to hold. But this is not it. Eric Norwood.
Incorrect. Now, there are 1, 2, 3.
Can I get an offensive defensive breakdown?
3 defense, 2 offense. I will say the 2 offense happened before South Carolina joined the Southeastern Conference.
Steve Wadiak.
Steve Wadiak not on the list.
All right. Now this is getting.
Now, one's pretty obvious because of the hardware he earned that season.
I'm rattled now.
There's one player that's won a Heisman.
Oh, okay. George Rogers.
Correct.
All right.
George
Okay,
Rogers
all right.
is one of the 5.
right. Sometimes you just need to lay one down and now I'm ready.
Everything else is in your lifetime, though.
Okay. All right. That's a little bit more tenuous than it used to be because I'm getting older. As I figured out
Whatever that means to you.
as I watched the Baseball Hall of Fame, I was like, man, that's
Wait, I watched the Baseball Hall of Fame. I'm like, oh, I remember watching a lot of baseball from those dudes.
preview, Thorns, Buds, and Roses, Hall of Fame edition. That being said, I'm going to go with one that I think is off the board, somebody I played with, and I kind of think I remember this, but it may not be. But Kalimba Edwards.
No one that you played with will be on this list.
No, I'm struggling, brother.
What if I told you one of them was in 2024?
Nagurski winner, Kyle Kennard.
That would be correct.
Okay.
Kyle Kennard, the Nagurski winner.
What a year.
And then one of them,
JD.
Jadeveon Clowney, another one.
Okay.
So you've got 3. Now, I will say, Jadeveon Clowney in 2012 was a consensus All-American. The year before, South Carolina had another defensive player be a consensus All-American.
Melvin Ingram.
That would be correct. Melvin Ingram in 2011,
Okay.
which leaves one more, and it was the year 1984.
Don't have that.
That would be Del Wilkes on the offensive line.
The Patriot. Okay.
Uh-huh.
All right.
So those are your 5. Shout out to Chris. Chris did get 3 on the Firehouse Subs text line. He said
Shout out to you,
George
Chris.
He said George Rogers, Melvin Ingram, J.D. Clowney. Don't know the other 2.
Good calls. Good calls. Yeah, well, this lends into some of the players that I think were really, really good. So if it comes to your top of your mind, some of these players I do know, maybe I'm getting All-American with first-team All-SEC, which kind of ends up being the same thing, especially if you're talking maybe 2010 to 2020. If you're first-team SEC,
You have a really good chance of being first team or consensus All-American.
good shot that you're consensus All-American. But yeah, that's a very strong number, 5. So we had JD, Kyle Kennard, Melvin Ingram, George Rogers, and Del Wilkes. All of them are really interesting. A lot of people would say that the JD, well, part of that 2011 defense was better than the 2012 defense. That's a really interesting conversation that could be had. Also, the 2012, if I'm not mistaken, I believe JD had better statistics 2011 than 2012. I could be getting that confused.
You could be. And it is always interesting how that ends up working, because maybe sometimes if someone felt like they should have been in the year before, they'll vote them in after. So in 2011, in 13 games, JD had 36 combined tackles, so that's solo and assisted, 12 tackles for loss, 8 sacks. His consensus All-American season, he had 54 combined tackles, 23 and a half tackles for loss, 13 sacks.
Gotcha.
And a couple of pass deflections. He actually had 4 pass deflections his last year at South Carolina in 2013.
Mm-hmm.
And then became a number 1 overall pick.
What a run.
Incredible run. And guess what, South Carolina, you got the best of him.
That was great.
Also, Jadeveon Clowney, depending on who you ask, some people would say bust in the NFL. I wouldn't at all. Did he live up to what he was supposed to be in terms of NFL career? Maybe not what he's hyped up to be, but anytime that you are spending that much time in the National Football League, you are not a bust. If you clock in a decade of work in the National Football League, you are not a bust to me.
Yeah, because I think there's a line of demarcation. Like he I think bust in my mind tends to be some. I would put JD and Reggie Bush in the same type of category.
100%.
Same sort of guy. Like, because they were so outlandish in college,
Or they were that much better than everybody else.
Like, when it got to the league, they were really good. But they were never going to be that, because that was crazy.
Yeah, that's nuts. And expecting somebody to do that in the NFL and actually living up to that promise is something very few players do.
But also, I think the thing that hurts JD in that argument is that Myles Garrett came right behind him and kind of has done that.
And then in the same draft class, Khalil Mack, I think, was 6th in that draft. And Khalil Mack had some just insane seasons early in his career.
Right.
Didn't age out very well, but first contract, Khalil Mack was a sight to behold with the Raiders. He was great. But still, you look at JD's like NFL career, we're talking 12 years of service. The guy still collected 66 and a half career sacks. Never had a double-digit one, but he had a pair of 9.5s on here, including one just a few years ago with the Baltimore Ravens.
Official journeyman. Can I name all the teams that JD played for? Let's go.
Oh, yes. All right. He played for 1, 2, 3,
Cowboys.
4, 5, 6, 7.
People forget that.
Yep. Cowboys. Panthers.
Ravens. Titans. Browns. Yep. Cowboys, Panthers, Ravens, Browns.
You have the free space. The
Texans.
Team that drafted him. Yep, the Texans, where he spent most of his seasons.
Seahawks.
And the Seahawks. All of them. Preston Thorne. Nailing the assignment.
Nice.
All 7 teams. That could be its own tier. when it comes to you picking your favorite team. We're not doing the Jadeveon Clowney former team exercise, but we will see how much of a football fan hipster Preston Thorne is when we try to find him a new favorite football team coming up next year in the early game. Oh, summer is here. It is hot outside, and that means you're going to be spending some time inside, right? Where it's air conditioned, where it feels great. You'd like for that house and that setting to be clean too. And Zerorez Carpet and Air Duct Cleaning is having a fantastic sale all summer long. And all you have to do is just use promo code SUMMER when you book at ZerorezColumbia.com. And when you use that promo code, you're going to get 26% off all services, right? Every single service they have, right? Like air ducts, that's 26% off. Carpets clean, that's a big thing, especially if you live in a big house, a lot of carpet, 26% off that too. Upholstery, tile, and grout, you're getting 26% off all of that, because right now is the perfect time to take advantage of this deal and Zerorez Carpet and Air Duct Cleaning's high-quality work, the Zero Water technology that cleans without soaps, harsh chemicals, sticky residues. Make your house stay cleaner and your carpets cleaner for longer. Do it all for 26% off. Start today at ZerorezColumbia.com.
No reports of any accidents on your Monday morning. Just forecast-wise, we're looking for an increase in temperatures from what we were seeing at the end of last week. 93 today, just a small chance of an isolated thunderstorm. That chance continues tomorrow as well. 97 will be our high. And then 94, 95 on Wednesday, low 90s the rest of the week. And currently we're kind of holding steady at 75.
Are you ready for some football? I'm ready for some football. Preston Thorne's ready for some football. Jen Jensen's ready for some football.
It's a good call, Jen.
But when you hear that song,
I'm instantly transported back to a better time.
I know, right?
but when you watch Monday Night Football this year, usually if your favorite team, you know who your favorite team is and you're cheering for them. But is Preston Thorne's favorite football team going to be appearing at a lot of Monday Night Football games? That's what we're going to find out right now. But today is the ultimate football hipster test for Preston Thorne. Because, Preston, do you want to be part of a larger fan base or a smaller fan base? I think that also matters, too. Sometimes it's fun to be one of the few people that like one football team. One of the reasons I became a New Orleans Saints fan as a young child at like 7 years old was not just because I thought Ricky Williams was the coolest football player on the planet. Not just because I thought those uniforms were sick and I thought the Superdome was really cool on TV, and because Joe Horn pulled out a cell phone for a for a touchdown celebration.
Really cool.
Sick, and also has aged really well because there's nothing funnier than seeing a football player pull out a flip phone as part of a celebration that is kind of in its own time capsule there. But nobody else I knew was a New Orleans Saints fan. In rural Tennessee, nobody cared except me. That was my team, right? I was football hipstered out at 7 years old.
And that's a big part of the hipster ideology, right? It's like I'm the only one who's I'm the only one who's cool enough to know anything about this because I'm cool. You all are lame. I get the cool team. So yes, I have been known to have some hipster-esque type of takes, things where you say things like, well, did you hear his first album? Like that kind of stuff. Like, I bet you didn't hear his mixtape.
Hey, Good Kid, Mad City is awesome, but did you ever listen to Section 80?
Exactly. I've been known to say some of those types of things. That is up my alley. So, yes, this is something that could appeal to me. There's going to be a sweet spot of, I think where this would be is up-and-coming team, like right on a team on the cusp. Like maybe if I was going to go with the Lions 2 years ago,
that might have been like a hipster-esque pick.
Somebody whose window has just opened.
And you certainly can find that at some of the lower tiers here. But like I do everything, 8 different tiers of 4 teams. And on a scale of 1 to 8, so tier 1 being the teams with the lowest social media following. I used Instagram specifically because I was able to get easier data that way. This is all tiered based off of how they rank in terms of Instagram followers. So tier 1 is going to have the 4 lowest. Tier 8 will have the 4 highest. So on a scale of 1 to 8, what is your thirst for football hipsterism?
I do have a pretty strong appetite for that. I'm going to go with 2.
A 2.
Yeah.
So the teams that are in tier 2 of following on Instagram here, the Atlanta Falcons. Welcome
Rise
back. The Washington Commanders.
Okay.
The Los Angeles Chargers. And the Jets.
Oh, no.
Jets.
No. Oh, Jets. Commanders.
Long-time franchise, very oldest dirt in the city of New York is in the bottom 8 in Instagram following.
Cares. Nobody cares. Nobody cares about.
Oh, I thought that was funny. When I was putting this together, I was like, the Jets really that low on this list?
Really quick, give me the teams in the top tier. Who I would imagine.
Yeah, the teams in
Is it everybody I think would be? Let's go.
if you had to guess, who do you think it'd be?
Cowboys,
Cowboys, yep.
Steelers.
Steelers are in tier 7.
Really? All right. Those are the two that I had.
Cowboys, Patriots, Eagles, and Chiefs.
All right. Yeah.
Chiefs, as you can imagine, probably.
That's artificially boosted, right?
Yeah, there's a Swifty tax there.
Yeah.
that is certainly applied. But in the teams in your category, there are 2 up-and-comings and then the Falcons and Jets. Because the Commanders do have Jaden Daniels. Jaden Daniels is a lot of fun.
You gave me a very good sell on the Chargers. You did, and they've been rattling around my brain. You did give me a very strong sell on the Chargers. It's a team that folks have been trying to convince us of. Justin Herbert, can he get over that loser DNA that he might have in him? There's a conversation about that. Harbaugh's quirky. We're going to get some good pressers. We know that.
Yep.
At least.
Always delivers in that regard.
But as I said, I spent some time in LA. I did not find the only one that's different from these. I don't think the Falcons and the Commanders. I do see that presence. And last year, when I was part of Rise Up Nation, their social media was a lot of fun on the times when they won.
Well, also fun whenever it's bad, too, because, the Falcons find different ways to lose football games. That's kind of like been part of their franchise's DNA since their existence, right, is that they will find unique ways to lose like football games. You think you know all the ways to lose a football game? The Falcons can write their own
I'll be honest, that was a part of the fun part of the year last year was getting into the algorithm, figuring out that now I'm a Falcons fan and it's sending me stuff about them. They were fun in both ways. Because what was interesting about, much like Tyler, they know who they are.
Yeah, it's a self-aware bunch.
Yeah, and it was kind of fun. They were like, oh, here we go. And they would kind of play back and forth with that. I don't think it would be a lot of fun to be involved with Jets Twitter, though.
Oh, permanent misery.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Permanent misery in Jets Twitter.
All right, so what we got matched up right now?
So right now, still the Patriots are your most matched team with 4. Then there's a larger cluster at 3. The Seahawks have 3 matches. The Ravens have 3 matches. The Chargers now have 3 matches. So do the Commanders and Jets.
Really? Okay, now here's an opportunity to maybe to do some family bonding because my brother is a Jets fan.
Oh, see there. Well, unfortunate for him. I'm sorry for him.
Not cool. But maybe there's a chance to do some family bonding there. Jaden Daniels, man, I'm just not convinced. I just feel like
Not convinced. I'm a Jaden Daniels truther.
Well, not of his talent,
of his ability to stay on the football field.
Yes.
He does kind of run the football like a kamikaze pilot. There's no regard for his own life out there. That man has taken some hits in his career.
Yeah, there's nobody else I look in the NFL like, that boy need to eat. He need to put on some weight, man. He just kind of has a very slim stature.
Or if you're going to run into contact all game, we need to put on 25 pounds, buddy, before we do that.
He's just a slim fella. I don't know. I'm not.
He's just so much fun when he plays.
He is.
I can't remember if Marcus Mariota is their backup or not.
All right,
now.
well,
I know he was last year. I don't know if he was brought back this year. Reliable backup. Marcus Mariota found his niche in the NFL as a backup.
Who the Jets doing? What are we doing with quarterback this year?
Oh, that'd be Geno Smith. Play the hits. Play the hits. I was at a game this would have been 2013. I was at a Titans-Jets game where I got to sit in the end zone, and 50 feet in front of my eyes, I watched Geno Smith butt fumble in the end zone, but was not as comically bad as Mark Sanchez. But he did run into the back of an offensive lineman, lose the football. He didn't just fall straight back. He just ran into the rump of one of his offensive linemen and lost the football in the end zone. The Titans recovered, and I was like, I just watched butt fumble part 2. This is amazing. I saw this in person.
That would be a good hipster take. I know you know what the butt fumble is, but do you ever?
But do you remember the Geno Smith butt fumble against the Titans in 2013? You may not. I was there. I saw it with my own 2 eyes. I got to witness it. But yeah, the Jets are playing the hits. They're going back. And by hits, I mean one of the more embarrassing parts of their franchise.
Okay. All right.
Which is pretty steep. There's a lot of not so cool.
Any Jets fans out there, if you want to send an argument to convince me, I'm welcome to hearing it.
And be very convincing. You're going to have to be incredibly convincing in that regard. But coming up next, meant to get to it earlier, but Nick Harbour talked a little bit about Lenoris Sellers and Lenoris's progress over the offseason. We'll hear what Nick Harbour had to say at SEC Media Days about Lenoris next here on the early game. Big part of South Carolina's offseason is the hire of Kendall Briles to be the offensive coordinator. But what effect is that going to have on Lenora Sellers and Nick Harbor and the connection they were able to make last year? Well, the Lenora Sellers part is maybe the more interesting part of this, because if Lenora Sellers looks more like he did last season, he's uncomfortable, then maybe you're not getting an explosive season from Nick Harbor. But Nick Harbor did talk to us here at 107.5 The Game. It was on Jay and Terry's show in the afternoon. And this is Nick Harbor talking about what he saw from Lenora Sellers so far in this offseason.
He's grown so much over the last year, just going from workouts to the film room, being in the film room for 3 to 4 hours, commanding the team, not just the huddle, but the team. He's a very quiet guy, very reserved. You won't get a lot out of him, off the field, but on the field, he's became that voice that everybody's needed and everybody wants to hear. Like, he commands practices now. We mess up, he says, okay, we're redoing this rep. Everybody stop, we're going to redo the rep. You listen to 16 at some points in time, and I feel like that's where the better of a quarterback gets, is when you can command your team, you can command the huddle, and the coaches give you that respect and give you that leeway. Okay, if you feel like this is not this and you want to redo it, okay, we're going to redo it. We're going to help you at that. And just me and him together, I've been playing with him now. We came in this together, been playing him now on the field for 3 years. So me and him have really just became one brain. And I try to learn the little tendencies of him and what he likes. And me and him talk so much is now, okay, he listens to me, I listen to him. If I point out something that I seen, okay, he goes back on film and says it, or he says, okay, I messed up on this. I'm like, oh, no, that was me. So just going back and forth, that's what the greats do. Like, I'm just going to make him right and just got to make him look good.
I like everything I heard there.
I like Nick.
I love Nick. I love that guy.
Put him in second team. Again, I get it. I get it. He's charming. He's handsome. He's tall.
$1 million smile.
Great smile. I like that guy. Great job of explaining the thought process, the maturity of their relationship, the maturity of 16, as he's calling them. I like this.
I do love the one brain comment too. And that's another part that I had when it comes to like really dissecting what we think is going to happen with that Lenora Sellers Nick Harbor connection. We've seen it grow significantly in the last 3 years. They already had a little bit of it. I don't know if you remember the Furman game in 2023 where it's garbage time, as the French would call it. And Lenoris comes into the game and he throws a bomb to Nick Harbor, right? Got a lot of people excited for what the future could hold. 2024, you saw him connect a little bit. Nick Harbor wasn't the leading receiver. The last year, you saw it happen a lot more, right? The one play that worked on offense was Lenoris drop back, Nick go deep, and we're going to throw a bomb and we're going to score a touchdown. I think that connection's gotten really strong. And it sounds like this offseason, there has been, at least between those two, more of an emphasis on having that hive mind and being able to together go through the tape, continuously work on those little like intricacies of football of hey, the ball needs to be here, if this is an option route, if this is the look that I get and you see that look, you know which way I'm going to go, right? Because if you're going to have a lot of option routes, which we talked about last week a lot, that quarterback and receiver need to be on the same page. Because
we have to see the same thing.
We have to see the same thing. So if you break on this route and I throw deep, then I'm throwing into the hands of a free safety, right, who's getting a free gift. That is so important. And if I'm just listening to stuff over the week and having that kind of fuel what I believe is going to happen in 2026, I can hear that and say, I do expect Nick Harbor to be able to play up to that third team preseason All-SEC selection, at least because of the relationship he has with his quarterback, who is pretty skilled himself.
Also, the idea of him talking about Lenoris commanding the team, being somebody who speak up when needed to be spoken. He doesn't necessarily have to be the most rah-rah guy or give any type of win one for the Gipper type of speeches at halftime, but during the quiet times of practice, of film, if he can command his players to do the right things, be on the right accord, that is something that every quarterback has to do.
And having the ability to say, hey, I don't like that rep. We're not gonna stop until we get this right. And him, understanding what it looks like to get it right. Because sometimes the play can be successful, the rep can be successful, but you got away with something. And creating habits to where you're succeeding on the football field, not because you got away with it, but because you ran it the way it's supposed to be ran, is a difference. There's a big difference between the two.
And understanding those things.
Yes. And I think Lenoris now being a third-year starter in college football, fourth year playing college football, And being on a roster makes it to where I have a lot more trust and at least feel a lot more optimistic about the offense taking a big step forward than being what they were last year, even with the entire offensive line question. Because that part's not forgotten. But I do like the ability to, even if that does break down at times, which it will at times, for those two to still be on the same page and for them to still be incredibly productive next year. 2 hours down, 1 to go to kick off the early game, third and long hour, though. We'll react to South Carolina's place in the preseason poll. And spoiler alert, it's not top 10. Are they overrated, underrated, or properly rated? Let's get sports talky next.
Preston here for our friends at Absolute Glass, the premier glass company of the Midlands, offering auto, home, and business glass repair. So if your glass is damaged, shattered, cracked, or broken, they can handle the job. If it's a cracked windshield, it's no problem. They'll come out to your location and they'll replace it for you, usually for free, and they'll work directly with your insurance to take away the headache. They'll come out to wherever you are, school, home, work, it does not matter. Absolute Glass will come out to you, and they will take care of the job for you. Now, if you're at home, you're looking to increase the value of your home, Absolute Glass can take care of that for you, too. Windows, mirrors, shower enclosures. Say it all the time. If you can see through it, Ray and Marianne at Absolute Glass can do it. So check them out online at AbsoluteGlassInc.com. That's online at AbsoluteGlassInc.com.
Do have some slow going on I-26 eastbound between Harbison and St. Andrews Road. Also some slow going I-20 westbound between White Pond Road and exit 82 around the Clemson Road area. So a little slower traffic in a couple spots on the highways, but no actual accidents, which is wonderful news. And 92 for the high today, 95 tomorrow, maybe a couple thunderstorms tomorrow afternoon, 76 currently.
The early game third and long hour starts right now. I'm Elijah Campbell. He is Northeast Columbia resident Preston Thorne. She's Jen Jensen. Our man Thomas is back in the video production room here at Studio 803. Been a while since I've seen Thomas here, Preston.
What's up, Thomas?
It's been a minute. Almost forgot what he looked like. I was like, who's that man that walked into the studio? But today we're talking a lot about some real sports talky stuff. Overrated, underrated, or properly rated. And when it comes to South Carolina, they were chosen as the 11th team in the Southeastern Conference in the preseason media poll. And if you look at the teams that they are ahead of and directly behind, I think it's when it gets really interesting. Now, Arkansas was 16th and last, Mississippi State at 15, 14 Kentucky, 13 Vanderbilt, 12 Auburn. Those are the teams that the majority of the Southeastern Conference media group, which consisted of a lot of voters, said South Carolina was better than. Just ahead of South Carolina is Missouri, Florida, and then Tennessee, Oklahoma, Alabama, so on and so forth. But Preston Thorne, I'll go ahead and pose the question again. At number 11, given who is behind South Carolina and ahead of South Carolina, are the Gamecocks overrated, underrated, or properly rated?
As much as it pains me to say I have a Carolina football hat on, I'm a Gamecock, I bleed, garnet and black. As much as it pains me to say, I think they're properly rated because it's very difficult to escape the stench of 4-8 last year. The idea that they went 4-8, and I think a lot of people are saying they went 4-8 with the talent that they had, with the opportunities that they had. I think it's very difficult for folks to get that out of their brains. And more importantly than that, more important than the whole idea of 4-8 is Texas A&M. I don't think they will ever avenge that loss until they go out and play this year because that still rattles in people's brains.
I mean, that was still brought up in Shane's presser, right?
Immediately.
One of the first questions he got was about that Texas A&M game, which, of course, Shane even alluded to in the opening statement. Somebody asked about it, and Shane, funny enough, goes, hey, can we not?
Yep.
Can we not relive that?
That was a great way to handle it.
Yeah, great way to handle it. Do it with a smile. Like, it's one of those things you're going to have to try to avenge. And when people think about the 4-8 2025 season, that's the number one game that I think most people are going to think about because it was a year of missed opportunities. And I think that's the thing that separates you from being looked at as the 11th best team in the SEC to even being what Tennessee is, right? At number 8, Tennessee was a very bland 8-4 last year, lost their bowl game 8-5. And they return a lot of important players, but maybe not the most important players, the most important positions, right? They don't return the quarterback. They don't return an elite edge rusher, right? South Carolina does. But is the difference there really maybe in the head coach, or is it program consistency? Because there's one thing that the Tennessee, at least under Josh Heupel, hasn't been, is missing out on a bowl game.
Right.
I think that maybe if you look at the differences between Tennessee and South Carolina, of course, they're going to play this year at Willie B on a fair game, which means you get there early. Then that's where we're going to see where they're at in 2026. But when it comes to just the perception of where you're at, I think that's where the perception kind of changes between those two programs.
And to be clear, this is all perception because nobody's played it down. Rosters are in flux. More so than at any other time, this is a lot about perception. But when we start with perception, we have to perceive who's at the top and what that person can do. And when I look at this list, and this is where if I, Preston, and Shane might be a better person than I am, but if I saw this list, I would be like, hold on a second. If when I'm looking at this list, South Carolina's 11, number 12 is Auburn. They have a new coach. Number 13 is Vanderbilt. They don't expect much out of their head coach. Shout out to Clark Lee.
For winning at 10 games in a season at Vanderbilt.
They're still riding that high. Kentucky has a new coach. Jeff Lebby, nobody's thinking about that, which is why September 19th is the biggest game of Shane's life. And number 16 is Arkansas. So he has the most tenure. He's the lowest rated, highest tenure, however you want to make that graph match. And so that is what they think about you. They don't think that they think you're at the bottom of the SEC as far as coaching. Then when you look up, they think Florida and John Summerall is better than you, which, whatever, has he done it in the SEC? He hasn't. I would have issues with that, but those issues are preseason. We still got to play it on the field and do all of that stuff. But yes, I would be thinking this is what they think about me.
What would make me more mad than anything is like where Missouri's at. Yeah, Missouri beat you last year. Missouri's a different team in 2026 than 2025, right? That's a team that I think is going to be really fun offensively. They don't return a single defensive starter on that unit, right? They're going to give up points next year. Their best player got shot in the offseason. We don't know how much of Ahmad Hardy we are going to actually see on the field this year. So with a depleted defense, a best player whose availability is in real limbo, still picked ahead of you. Florida's another one too. Like, you don't know who their starting quarterback is. If it's Aaron Philo, that's a guy who's been a career backup at Georgia Tech, right? Haynes King's a dog. And I would even say in his last year at Georgia Tech, he was a good quarterback, so he could fit both. But Aaron Philo was not the starter. He played in one game last year. He played in some spot snaps the year before when Haynes King would get hurt because that man would run into, you know, the pits of hell for his football team, even if it meant him getting injured. And people still believe in Florida more than they would South Carolina. That does, I think, have a lot more roster return. And Florida was a bad team last season. Clearly, it got Billy Napier fired. If I'm a Gamecock fan, or if I'm even Shane Beamer, I'm looking at that and saying those are the two that I necessarily don't understand. And that's why I had them at 9. It's not like I had them dramatically different. I didn't have them in the top 5 or anything like that. But I expect them this year to be better football teams than Florida and Missouri. With Florida, at least you have a chance to prove that on a field.
But this is why, because a lot of the coach rhetoric will say, you know, preseason polls don't matter. Wait till we play the games. And that's obviously true. But it does matter because where you start the season, it determines where you finish the season. Because if you have to climb your way up through the polls, you don't get a lot of press until late, or maybe you see it on the other side, teams that start very high and then you lose the 2 games, you don't fall very low when we're talking about taking the top 12 teams. So yes, it does matter where you are ranked. So they have an uphill climb into respectability just because of where they're ranked preseason. So it doesn't determine what happens on the field, but yes, it does affect people's perception. And as long as we're in a ranking game, we're talking about perception.
And when it comes to things like the college football playoff or just AP poll voting and things of that nature, perception matters a lot. What are the games early in the year that you're going to have to prove that you are better than what your perception is? You're not going to do that against Kent State or Towson, no matter how bad you beat either of those teams.
Or Mississippi State because they're lower than you. Or Kentucky because they're lower than you.
But that one against Alabama in late September, in a month where traditionally you have not, under Shane Beamer's tenure, played particularly well in SEC games. The only opponents they have beaten in the SEC in the month of September since Shane's been the head coach has been Mississippi State and Kentucky. You've got to go to Alabama and really show something in that game.
Is it the Big 12 that has done away with preseason rankings?
Yeah, I think they completely did away with preseason.
And that's just because everybody's kind of the same?
It's like I'm comparing the same thing here. It's like that scene in The Office where Pam's talking and she said, corporate wants us to find the difference between these 2 pictures. It's the same picture.
Yeah, so I know Big 12's done away with it, but I do think that is interesting, an interesting concept because, yes, it does color in what you think about these teams based on their perception. It's the reason why we were so high. It's the reason why we were so disappointed last year is because of their preseason rankings. Maybe if there were no preseason rankings, maybe we would have not been as disappointed. But the perception going into the season was crazy. And it didn't work out that way. So we'll see.
I'm also pro doing anything because it's fun.
That's cool too.
Doing things just for the purpose of it being fun is a good reason to do something. And preseason polls, I think, are one of those things. It's a fun exercise. And you know what? If you are a team like Kentucky, Mississippi State, Arkansas, the fact that you're picked the bottom 3 in the SEC should at least motivate you. I hope it is at least a motivating factor. I hope for South Carolina being picked 11th is a motivating factor, right? Because Shane's alluded to them having the same players and going to be picked worse than they were the year before. That should be motivating for Shane Beamer. Looking at this list right here should be motivating for him. It should be motivating for Lenora Sellers. It should be motivating for Nick Harbor, Dylan Stewart, everybody on the team. This should be a motivating factor because you have a really good chance to prove that you are in the top 10 because you play Florida on the road this year. They're in the top 10 on this list. You play Tennessee at home. They're in the top 10 on this list. You go at Oklahoma and Alabama. They're number 7 and 6 respectively. And then you have a chance against some of the best teams like Georgia, who is picked to win this thing, and Texas A&M, who is picked in the top 5.
I'm just trying to look up something here because you talk about the perception, we talk about teams, and then we got into the idea of players. Well, has the perception changed drastically on who Lenora Sellers is? Because last year, 2025, he was second team All SEC preseason. This year, he's not ranked at all. So the perception of who Lenora Sellers is has changed drastically based on the 4-8 season, based on the film that they had produced last year. Has his talent changed? No, but his perception has absolutely changed. Also, last year they had DJ Lagway as the third team SEC all preseason team.
Talk about somebody whose perception is completely changed.
Listen to this. This may be the argument for why preseason polls don't matter, because first team all SEC quarterback 2025, Garrett Nussmeier.
Ooh, that did not come to fruition at
Second
all.
team, Lenora Sellers. Third team, DJ Lagway.
Those are not the 3 best quarterbacks in the SEC last year.
They were not.
Talented, yes. But for football reasons, it didn't come to fruition for both, or for all 3, really. DJ Lagway actually might not be very good. I think that one's one where the jury can still very much so be out on DJ Lagway, and it's going to matter what he does at Baylor a lot. But when it comes to Lenoris, too, it's very interesting because I still see him as one of the most talented quarterbacks in this league. Again, I think the opportunity that he has ahead of himself with Kendall Briles calling the plays. Now, being in an offense that is a little more up-tempo, that's going to play more to what the strengths of Lenora Sellers are, at the quarterback position, is going to matter. And I think the connection with Nick Harbor is going to matter. That's the one guy on this team that he's played, him and Mazio Bennett I can think of right now that have played with him for 3 years, right? His entire time as a starter at South Carolina, he at least has those 2 guys. And he's got some built-in chemistry with his brother, Jaden. And these are other receivers on this team that he has not spent a lot of time with that he is going to have to kind of speed run to get a very viable connection for this offense. But when I put Lenore Sellers, the 3rd team All SEC quarterback, I'm doing that a lot out of projection because I do truly believe it's going to be a lot better given the circumstances of what we have in 2026, maybe compared to last year.
The circumstances are a little bit different, though, because what nobody's taking into account is the offensive coordinator's not there, right? The offensive coordinator is new. It's a whole different system, as you just said. The whole system is going to be designed around what he can do instead of a system that is designed to make him do something that he's not great at doing.
And I want to see him absolutely run the pee out of the ball this year.
I do too.
I think it's going to help. And I think we're going to see that because I think Kendall Briles is a good enough offensive coordinator to see what his skill set is on offense and what his players can do well in kind of creating something to where that is highlighted. I think we'll see more of that. And if we see more of that, you'll see more of what made Lenora Sellers such a highly anticipated player going into last season. So for projecting, that's kind of what I look at in that regard. But coming up next, though, as we do every Monday at 8:15, it's time for Preston to give out some accolades. Not preseason accolades because we do this all year long. But Thorns, Buds, and Roses is next. Something much more difficult than picking your all SEC ballot is getting out of that IRS maze. It's something that you probably don't feel very qualified to do, and that's why John Ecton and his team at the Ecton Law Firm are here to help you out. It's one of life's biggest challenges, right? If you are struggling with personal income or business tax issues, it can feel like a bear. But if you give them a call at 803-771-9800, set up that free first consultation with John and his team at the Ecton Law Firm. That's the first step, right? Find out why the Ecton Law Firm has been able to help families, businesses, thousands of them across the state of South Carolina, just like yours, escape those tax issues, get out of that IRS maze, find out about their local solutions that have been able to get people on the positive side of these. 803-771-9800. The journey starts with that consultation. So give them a call there or visit them online at ectonlawfirm.com. That's ECTON lawfirm.com.
No accidents reported at this time. A little bit of a slower traffic flow coming from about Harbison Boulevard to I-20 eastbound. So aside from that, nothing else to report. And I'm quite happy to report absolutely nothing. That's a good thing. Morning clouds, maybe afternoon sun today, 92 for the high. Now they're saying maybe some afternoon thunderstorms tomorrow, high of 95. Sunshine and 91 for your Wednesday. But we're basically back to low 90s for the rest of the week. 75 currently on 107.5 The Game.
A weekend of sports, including some Hall of Fame inductions. Scott Preston Thorne taking notes, and it's time to empty that notebook out for Thorns, Buds, and Roses.
It's time for Thorns, Buds, and Roses with Preston Thorne on the early game. 107.5 The Game.
All right, Elijah. Not a lot of sporting action happening this weekend, which leads to a great time for the ceremony of the Hall of Fame. Didn't used to mean anything to me before, but this is how I know I am advancing in age, because as the Hall of Fame was on, nostalgia, the waves were just washing over my body. I just saw these dudes, Dennis Eckersley, Fred McGriff, Paul Molitor, Robin Young. I mean, just these names. I was just like, oh man, more. Because I just realized how much baseball I watched as a youth. Like I watched, and baseball is the game that you watch every night. Obviously, TBS 705, 735, I was there. And that leads me to my first thorn. 14 pennants, 8 NLCSs, 1 World Series. Not enough. Not enough. They won a lot of games. They hit a lot of balls. I'm starting to trend on the idea, and I don't know if this is just me.
Oh, no.
Overrated?
Oh, no, you can't do that, Preston Thorne.
Overrated, man. I'm just looking at the numbers. Hey, listen, I tomahawk chop with the best of them. I'm a Braves fan. But when I look at those numbers, and then Fred McGriff, John Smoltz, Tom Glavine, Greg Maddux, Chipper Jones, and now Andrew Jones. 6 Hall of Famers.
Shout out Curacao.
If I give them the Dabo Sweeney treatment of saying, hey man, you can't have more wins, you can't have more players drafted than wins, then I gotta give it to the Braves. You can't have 6 Hall of Famers and only 1 championship, man.
No.
It's not enough. I'm a Braves fan for life, but it just dawned on me. Bobby Cox, R.I.P. But also,
oh no, oh no.
Can't get it done in the big one. That being said, Thorns, not enough pennants for the Braves. B usually stands for Buds, but this time it stands for Braves. Because again, Bobby Cox, Fred McGriff, John Smoltz, Glavine, Maddux, Chipper. Chipper's my favorite player ever. And I think it's because Chipper is the first player that I saw go from the beginning all the way to the end. I remember him getting drafted. I remember being excited about this kid. He's going to come in. He's going to play shortstop. No, he hurt his ACL. He's playing third base. Maybe he's going to play left field now. I remember the whole thing with Chipper. He's my favorite player ever. And so with that being said, he's a cornerstone of the franchise. I'm looking at all these dudes, man. I'm like, man, Braves had some guys. It was really fun being a fan of that team at that time, especially with a front office, John Sherholtz. I think that's the first GM's name I ever knew. I didn't know what a GM was.
For a good reason.
But I learned who John Sherholtz was because that man was making deals. He got Maddux. He got McGriff. They were not scared to go out and win the thing. And so that finally leads us to the ultimate 25 roses for Andrew Jones, who finally gets into the Hall of Fame. Now, I can only say this because I've seen this with my own eyes. I didn't see some of these other dudes. If my father was around, he would definitely smack me in the back of the head for saying this. But Andrew Jones, best center fielder ever. I know, Willie Mays, Mickey Mantle, I get it, I hear you. But Andrew Jones is in the mix. 10 gold gloves.
For sure.
And the thing about watching him is what you go back and realize is that he doesn't get as much credit for being a great center fielder because he was so good that he didn't have to dive for a lot of plays. He didn't have to make a lot of, ultimate spectacular circus type catches because he was just always in the right place at the right time. He did a lot of that stuff pre-prep, or he was just so good at getting jumps on the ball that it just wouldn't work. So when you look at all of those statistics, and the last thing about Andrew, if you don't remember, or if you are being refreshed, like maybe my boy Thomas is, 1996. The dude is 19 years old. Against the Yankees, 2 home runs. They lose the series because, again, they didn't win enough World Series during that time. They lose the series, but this dude was 19 doing that on the global stage. He was 19. I was 14. I couldn't hit a curveball. This dude was taking the ball out the park in Yankee Stadium.
In a World Series game.
Series game, man. So Andrew, probably the last of that crew that's going to get in, man. But what a great time it was to be a fan of that team. So for your Hall of Fame edition, those were our thorns, buds, and roses.
I will say, as somebody who is a fan of a team that has maybe played in the fewer playoff games than I have fingers on both hands in my entire lifetime, I might give up one of those fingers to see my favorite team win one World Series title.
I get it. I understand. But
one.
All of those years in a row.
They were, I mean, them and the Yankees, so they're the teams of the 90s.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think some of the sins of that era were losing to the Yankees, which all teams were going to do.
Well, the thing that's really interesting about being a Braves fan is that obviously in this part of the country, it was a thing. You still somehow or another we were able to have that underdog chip, even though we were winning a bunch of games. We had all the talent.
NL East titles.
We spent a lot of money. It's like we were never the underdogs, but we always could kind of convince ourselves that we were.
Because you didn't have the historical resume a team like the New York Yankees had, right? They were like new bloods in baseball, right? They were the blue bloods of baseball. They were kind of new bloods at that time.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, and I think Andrew was a perfect representation because he came up through the farm system. They got him, plucked him from, like you said, Curacao representing.
Shout out.
Only reason I ever knew it existed was because of this dude right here.
The only reason I knew it's a Dutch colony is because Andrew Jones and Ozzy Albies have played for the Netherlands in the World Baseball Classic. That is one way to learn about some European imperialism is by who plays for certain European teams in the World Baseball Classic.
I mean, he was fantastic, though. And I was just looking up and I was refreshing my memory on this about how good he was. We kind of post steroids, still hit 50 plus.
Uh-huh.
He's never been accused of any funny business on the field, right? So I think it was definitely overdue time. And the thing with Andrew is they kind of penalized him because the end of his career wasn't great.
Right.
It wasn't great at the end of his career, but I don't think that definitely doesn't tarnish those 10 Gold Gloves in a row and all that damage that he did. So he's absolutely deserving, and it was really cool to see him go in.
Well, even at the end of his career too, talked about this a lot yesterday on Westwood One, that even with the end of his career kind of falling off a bit, for a career still having an OPS of over 820 is remarkable. That's still, to me, Hall of Fame worthy, right? That means if you take your entire career and you place them in Major League Baseball right now using those numbers, he is still an all-star starter.
Right.
And to me, that if you did it over the course of, I don't know how many years he ended up playing, yeah, that matters. And 10 Gold Gloves, too. I mean, yeah, I was not alive for Willie Mays. May shock some of you just by listening to my voice that I was not alive to see Willie Mays play outfield. But I can definitively say that is the best center fielder I have ever watched with my own two eyes. And I highly doubt I'm going to see somebody that was better than what Andrew Jones was in terms of making, like what you said, the hard plays look easy and the athletic feats of robbing home runs.
When it was
diving.
time, yes.
Was there a player in the early 2000s in any sport that had more plays on SportsCenter's top 10 than Andrew Jones?
It's funny you said that because you just said there was a Kenny Lofton sighting, and that's probably the 1-2 combo that I would think of center fielders that were able to make things disappear off the board.
Oh, absolutely. And then, because, Kenny Lofton they did show him on the MLB Network earlier. But Andrew Jones, significantly better hitter for the entirety of his career, too, which I think makes it even more Hall of Fame worthy. Coming up next, though, the All-SEC preseason teams were named. There were 2 Gamecocks that earned honors, but which ones got snubbed? Well, we'll discuss that coming up next here in the early game.
Hey, it's Jen for CHW Cabinetry in Lexington. They're a locally owned business, a women-owned business, and did great work for us when we needed to redo our kitchen due to a flood. It was a stressful time, but they sure made it a whole bunch easier. The photorealistic rendering of that finished kitchen before it was finished was helpful in so many ways. And because of such a great experience with them, when we needed to do some other updates in the house, there was only one place to call, and that was CHW Cabinetry. You can check out what all they can do for you by visiting them online at chwcabinetry.com. But if you would like to put an outdoor kitchen in place, they can sure help you with that. Maybe some different cabinetry and updating a family room or updating a closet, your pantry. So many ways CHW Cabinetry can help. Call them today, 803-520-6837. And, of course, be sure to tell them Jen sent you. CHW Cabinetry, passion from inspiration to installation. No accidents right now. All looking pretty good on the highways this morning. And your forecast, it doesn't look too bad, just warming up a bit. Some clouds this morning. We'll see some sunshine coming through later today. 92 for the high, 95. Tomorrow, maybe some afternoon thunderstorms are possible. And come Wednesday, mostly sunny, 91. Currently, a few clouds out there and sitting at 75.
2 South Carolina Gamecock players named on the preseason All-SEC team. That would be Nick Harbor, 3rd team All-SEC wide receiver, Dylan Stewart, 1st team All-SEC defensive lineman. Now, if I have any gripes with how this is done, there is no edge rusher and defensive line category. It's all defensive line together. But nonetheless, Dylan Stewart named on the 1st team.
He was named on 1st team last year also.
Yes. And if for some reason he ends up playing next year, he'll be 1st team preseason next year too.
Correct.
Almost no matter how this year looks. He's one of those players. My question to you, Preston Thorne, is do we have any South Carolina snubs? Because I'm thinking of one really big one, right? I can understand the Lenora Sellers thing because of what the people last remember that are voting was 4-8 and him having to run for his life so much last season. But to me, the one where I can look at and say, I think collectively as a team here, even though I voted for this guy, as a team here, we got this one incorrect, was Vakari Swain not being All-SEC, 1st, 2nd, or 3rd team as a return specialist.
Well, yes, he obviously should be on that list at some point because of the fact that anytime you score on returning, that puts you in elite category because it doesn't happen, and he didn't do it just once. He did it
3 times.
3 times.
Twice in one game.
Right. So, yes, that's an obvious snub. But I think what you have the numbers to support, excuse me, is that it's not just a sub on special teams, but it's also, I think there's a category, like an all-around category or something like that.
There's an all-purpose for offense, but they don't have it for
maybe they need to bring that on defense because Vakari's value also comes in the defensive game. Mm-hmm. And whether we talk about whether that's passing defense or playing in the run game or blitzing the quarterback, he can play at all 3 levels, and I think that's something that is extremely important.
That's why he's my number 1 game stealer. When you get to the road game at Oklahoma, the road game at Alabama, the home game against Texas A&M, the home game against Georgia, if you want to win any of those 4 games against teams that played in the college football playoff last year, you're going to need Vakari Swain to do a little bit of all that we just mentioned, right? Blitzing the quarterback, playing great pass defense. This is a guy who's, the opposing QBR against him on passes in his direction was 9.7. That is a metric that is a scale of 1 to 100, right? He has gotten significantly better as a cover corner, even picked off Marcel Reed in the first half of that game against Texas A&M last season. He has gotten a lot better in that regard, and it's going to involve him having to be really good on special teams. Even if he doesn't return one for a touchdown, there's still a lot of inherent value of just being able to move the ball 20 yards up the field as opposed to where the kick actually landed. Field position matters a ton, and he is a one-man field position game changer there. That guy has not just the ability, but I think he has a lot of the track record of being that type of game stealer that we talked about last week. I think that at least is deserving of at least the 3rd team All-SEC nod.
I'm making this up, so this may be the first time this is uttered, or somebody may have this idea somewhere else, but Vakari is a 3-level defender, like a 3-level scorer in basketball.
Oh, I like that.
He's a 3-level defender, right? He can play, obviously, he can play behind the line of scrimmage in the passing zones. Mm-hmm. He can play at the line of scrimmage in the run game, but he can also play behind the line of scrimmage and blitzing the quarterback. So he brings you value in 3 different ways. I don't know if I'm making this up. Somebody somewhere may have this, but this is the first time I've ever heard it in my brain.
Well, it's the first time I've ever heard it spoken aloud. So this counts. This is a Preston Thorne original. You get the trademark.
Let's put this down, and let's look at maybe how he impacts the game at those 3 levels, because it is a rare person that can. And if you start talking about people who can, you obviously go to Nick Emenwari, a player of that status, of that caliber. So maybe he fits in that category, except what's interesting about Vakari is that he does it from the corner position.
Yeah, yes.
He doesn't do it not from the safety or nickel. He does it from the corner position. And so we're going to see a lot of him being able to impact the game on all those 3 levels. Mark it down. I don't know, but I feel like it's the first time I've ever heard it in my mind.
I like that, a 3-level defender. And if you think about corners, too, some of the best corners that I've ever seen in football have not necessarily been 3-level corners, right? I don't know if I'd consider Darrelle Revis a 3-level corner.
No.
Rondé Barber, a 3-level corner.
He does have, there is a lineage. Well, there's a lineage because I would say Dante Robinson was somebody who was in that mold.
Yep. Oh, yeah, certainly.
Right, so Dante was somebody who's in that mold. Sheldon Brown is somebody who's in that mold, as evidenced by the hits that we can no longer show on highlights anymore.
Including one on my boy Reggie Bush. I'll never forget that one.
Yeah, Dante and Sheldon both have two of the most legendary hits from cornerbacks. But yeah, there is a little bit of a lineage of that. But that is, it's almost like getting an extra defender at the line because like I know, sometimes DBs, they don't want no parts of that.
Right. The whole thing, Deion Sanders was one of the greatest corners ever, but never wanted to tackle anybody.
Yeah, business decisions.
Yeah, kind of deal. What would you consider Champ Bailey? Last guy's naming dude's part of this. I'm really curious. That name just popped in my head. I was like, would you consider Champ Bailey a 3-level defender?
No. I would say no because I don't remember him doing too much of the blitzing aspect of it. But Champ was so good.
Champ was great.
But as far as the defending and the special teams aspect, my God.
And in college, he's playing offense, too. He did a little bit of everything. Guy was ridiculous.
It's just always funny. Dominique Foxworth on ESPN, he talks about being the corner opposite of Champ Bailey and just knowing that all the teams are just going to spam him.
He's going to get that work. He is going to see a lot of passes his way.
Side all day because they're not throwing to that guy over there.
There's only one half of the field that we're going to operate on, and that's the one with you, buddy. So I hope you're ready to play today.
It's going to be you.
That's a tough scene. But when it comes to Lenoris, at the end of the season being all SEC, which was what matters most, none of the preseason stuff really matters. And I get that. And I see the comments about, none of this matters. I get it. And this is what we just have to operate on here in July. But if we want to see Lenoris Sellers be named on this team at the end of the season, where it matters the most, what are some benchmarks that you have to see that would give him real consideration to be considered one of the best quarterbacks in the Southeastern Conference?
Oh, I haven't thought about this at all. But I do know some of those numbers that came out from last year. I think Arch Manning was like 3,500 passing yards.
That's a lot. Yeah.
Listen, man, there's no secret. In order for us to reach our goals, Lenoris is going to have to ball out. Mm-hmm. And he's going to have to put up some numbers in that era of 32 to 3,700, maybe 800 to 1,000 rushing, 750 to 1,000 rushing. It's going to have to be a special season. There's no doubt about that.
My thing is career highs, right? Career high in passing yards.
What do those numbers look like?
So in 24, he threw for 2,534 yards. He was actually not too much far behind last year. He was at 2,437 last season.
Felt different.
But it felt different. And I think that matters a lot, too. What is it spiritually, right? 18 touchdowns is a career high. That was in 24. Had 13 last year. 7 interceptions. I can live with the same total, right? If you're making plays, I can live with the occasional interception. Running the ball last year, though, accounting for sacks, because college football does this, 270 yards rushing last year, 674 the year before. So if he wants to be on this list at the end of the season, if I want to put some benchmarks to it, I say get to at least 2,900 yards or let's do 3,000, round number here, 3,000, and rush for at least 650. 674 for a quarterback's a lot. Rush for at least 650 because we're accounting for sacks here. But if you can get in that 650 range and beyond, I think you're going to find him on this list.
I know that I'm sure there's a mathematical way to figure this out, but how about let's just account for less yards going backwards, which would means the offensive line is playing a lot better. So that would inherently make, even if he had the same number of yards at 650, maybe he didn't, because that 650 doesn't account for the 500 he had to run around side to side or backwards running away from defenders.
I would love to see GPS tracking data to see how many yards he ran last year in all directions, like an omnidirectional yards stat, and see exactly how much he actually had to run for last year. And I'm sure we'd be floored with what that number would end up looking like. But if he gets that 650 spot and he gets the 3,000 passing yards, we're talking about a really special season. That'd be a winner for the Gamecocks. But we'll give you our winner for today's show, brought to you by the Golden Spur, coming up next.
called winners. Winners.
Oh, we got you, Coach. Every day we give you our Winners of the Day show, brought to you by the Golden Spur. And I think my first winner, golden winner, Preston Thorne, because this is news that just dropped during the commercial break. Larceny. Because Michael Lombardi has done nothing but steal money from the University of North Carolina. The highest paid general manager in college football, making $1.5 million a year. $1.5 million for a team that was buns last year has now been placed on paid administrative leave. The University of North Carolina will not disclose what happened. I'm not even going to begin to speculate. But what I can say is when you are that bad at building a roster and you were paid $1.5 million to do so and you only got that gig because you're Bill Belichick's buddy, that is larceny. Because Merriam-Webster's dictionary will define larceny as the unlawful taking of personal property with intent to deprive the rightful owner of it permanently. That is what he has done with the University of North Carolina Chapel Hill's money.
Oh, that's what he's been doing his whole career. There's a really interesting episode on Pablo Torre Finds Out about, what's his name?
Michael Lombardi?
Yeah, about Michael Lombardi. And he's been scamming his whole career. He's been scamming his whole career from the time he's got in the door to this point. He's been a scammer supreme, and so maybe they caught up with him. Who knows what ends up happening? I'm sure we will find out. Just the thing, UNC was kind of keeping it quiet too. It was just being quiet
off season
until now. We'll see how that goes. Winners. The 5 consensus All-Americans that were Gamecocks. It was tough. I went through a bunch of dudes, but let's name them here. We have Jadeveon Clowney, Kyle Kennard, Melvin Ingram, George Rogers, and Del Wilkes. All of them ballers. Yes, all of them great. That Kyle Kennard won the Nagurski, man. That is pretty wild.
Special season
to think, and some of my favorite players during that time. So shout out to all those dudes who were consensus All-Americans at the end of their seasons.
By all major publications that produce All-American lists, those are the 5 in Gamecock history. Now, some have been AP All-Americans, but not All-Americans somewhere else. Those are the consensus 5 South Carolina All-Americans. It is a pretty exclusive list. And if you are on that, you hold a very special place in South Carolina football lore. Another winner, a term that Preston Thorne created on this show, the 3-level defender.
Yeah, I don't think I've seen that anywhere. Maybe somebody, you can pull it up. I know I didn't steal it from somewhere. I know that. So it came out of my brain. Somebody else's brain might have made it too, but I know I got that from here.
But you got to say it publicly with people
That's
listening.
Correct.
Now, Derek Brooks, one of the all-time great 3-level defenders.
The greatest.
Maybe the greatest.
That's a great pull. Because I would love, not the opposite of winners, is any coach who looked at Tampa run to Tampa 2 and say, we're going to try that now. And not remember that you don't have Derek Brooks running the middle.
No. You don't have. Derek Brooks also one of the more influential linebackers, because how many linebackers are in the NFL now that they try to do the same thing with? More successfully now, because I think now players are being taught more so as a linebacker to not just be aggressive run stopper, be something in coverage. Fred Warner is one of those players that I think I could put as a modern 3-level defender.
Fred is a great example of that. But again, to the 3rd level, not sure how much they do the blitzing part of it. And that's where you really get to the 3rd level aspect of it. This might be something we can talk about a little bit more. But, I mean, it's Derek Brooks, and then Brian Urlacher's right behind him.
Urlacher,
and that's Fred is probably getting to that status. But the whole point of the Tampa 2 is you had to have your middle linebacker run the seam downfield and be able to run with these dudes, and nobody else can do that.
Oh, and be able to cover while backpedaling.
Yeah, man.
To get into that spot, because you're almost starting at the line of scrimmage.
It was impossible. Oh, yeah, and also you got to have John Lynch back there, too. Which was and you had to have Warren Sapp playing. Oh, and you had to have Booger McFarland. Oh, and you had to have Rondé Barber at corner. Oh, and you had to have all come on, man. We can't do that.
Oh, even the forgotten guy who he's forgotten, but he won the Super Bowl MVP was Dexter Jackson. Oh yeah, that guy also. The kind of the afterthought was a guy who was one of the best college football safeties of the '90s.
Come on, man.
Stupid. Winner also in that regard, Monty Kiffin.
Shout out to you.
It's one thing to have that group. It's another thing to say, hey, I want to do something unconventional because I do have this group, and then no one's just going to score on it.
Absolutely. To be able to, that's a great point about a great coach is to know you have this unique abilities and figure out a way that we're going to use them. And that Tampa 2 defense was remarkable because of all of an embarrassment of riches.
When you create something, a player prototype that now 20 plus years later is a requirement on NFL teams, like having a linebacker that can play in coverage really well, then you have created something pretty influential in the game of football. Like, no one's going to do it like Derrick Brooks, but now there are linebackers in this league that part of what they do,
you have to do it like Derrick Brooks.
You have to.
Or else you can't play.
Or else you're going to be left behind. And that's why you see a lot of draftees now try to get players or teams drafting linebackers more on the Fred Warner build. Demario Davis for the Saints did it for a long time. Devin Lloyd just made a lot of money with the Carolina Panthers because he was doing that with the Jacksonville Jaguars. Three-level defender, one of my favorites in the sports. Those are our winners of today's show, brought to you by the Golden Spur. Extra points next.
Preston here for Cato's Power Equipment. Cato's Power Equipment has been serving the Midlands since 1983. That's over 40 years. And third-generation owner Ben Cato provides top-notch service, great deals, and the mom-and-pop values that you love. Ben is determined to raise the standard of sales, service, and retail. Whether you're a weekend warrior or a seasoned landscaping pro, Cato's has you covered. They have a huge selection of new and pre-owned mowers, powerful tractors, and all the gear that you need. So come into Cato